Welcome to the Scientific Audiophile. I was just reviewing this 2011 bottle of Chateau Ramage La Bâtisse, which I found to be both bitter and lacking character, much like myself, when I came across this video feed in YouTube. For anyone unfamiliar with the Scientific Audiophile channel, about a year ago we did a video in which we literally destroyed a member from the Audio Science Review in our cable challenge, proving unequivocally that cables matter. I'll put the link in the description below. Let's hope Chris from Vinyl Attack is pro cables, because if he's not, we're going to have to unleash on him our vitriol of attack, abuse, and downright cyberbullying, because we cannot allow people who don't believe in the power and magic of cables to exist within the audiophile community. Let's see what Chris has to say about cables.
My name is Chris, and today is all about my trip to Texas and my visit with Danny Ritchie at GR Research. Welcome to the Vinyl Attack. From here we went over to his listening room, which is in his home. Now, I've seen patient spouses before, but Christy might just be up for sainthood with her calm nature. The entire middle room of their house is the dedicated room for the reference system Danny uses to listen to, and I must say, it's quite impressive. This older photo shows a pared down version of what I saw and heard, because we see the same person from week to week talking about a hobby that
It's not a hobby.
Now, considering this is about a visit to GR Research, I'm guessing a big part of why you're here will be to see on which side of the discussion I reside when it comes to cables. Do they matter? Are they snake oil? Did I drink the Kool-Aid? So many people involved in this discussion can't seem to act like adults.
Chris calling out the anti-cablers.
Yeah, you heard me. Considering that all the people that enter into this conversation tucked safely behind their keyboards at home are supposed to be grown-ups, I see a bunch of immature behavior on both sides of the line. Why would anyone want to throw their hat into the ring when they see this type of nonsense going on?
I've thrown my hat in the ring because I care about the truth, science, and the American way.
Personal insults and attacks, threats, mudslinging, direct attacks to the integrity and credibility of those who dare to disagree with whichever position is opposite of yours.
Let me clarify, the position opposite of mine, which is pro-cables, is lies, misinformation, heresy, and possibly treason.
It's no wonder this hobby of ours is looked down upon by
Not a
many
hobby.
who sit idly by and see the antics that take place within. Do cables matter? You're not going to like this. Ladies and gentlemen, it depends.
Is Chris trying to straddle this issue, much like a politician?
While listening to a great track by Jennifer Warnes called The Panther, Danny asked if I'd like to hear something. Well, of course I said yes, so he said to keep doing what I was doing, which is simply listening intently with my eyes closed.
By listening with your eyes closed or in a darkened room, you can focus more on the music.
He played the intro of the song 3 times, and then there was a pause. After this, he played the intro again. Immediately, I noticed that there was a change in the music. This is the part where you need to try and keep an open mind, because I had no idea what, if anything, he'd done. Did he switch something? Did he not, to try and test me? Either way, I'd heard what I'd heard, so I simply asked him, "What did you do?" Looking over at Danny and Hobbs, his employee and right-hand man, who were both smiling, he simply said he changed the orientation of the firewire cable.
In your face, anti-cablers, simply change the direction of the firewire cable
That connected to his Mac Mini from which he was streaming. That's it.
And just for emphasis, while Chris's eyes were closed, I want to make it very clear that even though I wasn't in the room, Danny and Hobbs didn't do any funky business like you see here.
He reversed the damn cable, and I'd heard it. There on the ground were Danny's controversial speaker cables being elevated by Tinker Toys. I thought to myself, what fresh hell is this? The guy's into cable risers too?
Cable risers are the third most important part of any system setup. Just the other day, my mom, 89 years old, was doing her daily cleaning of my room when she knocked over one of my cable risers. She didn't tell me this. Now, before you start getting into the comments and knocking on her, I already gave it to her pretty hard, so she's not going to do that again. The point being, though, I went to turn on Diane Bish, and it was flat. She wasn't above me like she normally is when she's playing her organ, and I didn't know she'd knocked over the cable riser. It was only when I saw it that I realized, oh my God, that's why the sound sounded so bad. Cable risers are unbelievably important in the sound of any system.
Now, I have always contended that cable risers are a waste of time and certainly a lot of money, considering how much people are charging for them.
You can never put a price on great sound.
So you can probably imagine my mixture of shock, disappointment, and anger when I heard for myself that they did in fact work. So, do cables matter? You might be surprised to hear that I still say, it depends. There are a host of people that say there is no difference and that they have proof. I'm not going to say that they're wrong.
I am. They're wrong.
Am I saying that my hearing is better and you lowly hobbyists simply can't achieve this level of zen?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm such a good listener with 10 to 60,000 range in my frequency response that anything I think is great, you're going to think is great. You might think something's great that's really garbage to my ears because I can hear all the problems in that kind of equipment. But when I say it's great, you know it's great.
People who haven't heard a difference in cables no matter what they've tried tend to get a bit defensive in my experience. They don't hear anything, so there is no way you can hear it. That's just not how things work, unfortunately. But telling someone that doesn't hear a difference that they're wrong also doesn't work. They truly don't hear it, so they're not wrong.
This is really so well put by Chris because it tones down my rhetoric a bit. I did not realize the fact that it's true. People with crappy hearing, like most of you, can't hear what I'm hearing. So when I raise my cable risers a bit and I hear it getting just a little bit too high above that 285 millimeter level, I need to bring it down. So I understand what Chris is saying here. It's not your fault. You're just not as good as me.
I've heard cables that make a difference going all the way back to my days of playing guitar in a band. Everyone I know did the cable test dance to find out what they liked best in their rig, and it was definitely obvious there. Hell, even David Gilmour has gone on record talking about how the band tried...
Who's David Gilmour?
...cable they could get their hands on when making Dark Side of the Moon. Without trying to be an insensitive jerk, if you're telling me that David Gilmour doesn't know what he's talking about or couldn't hear a difference in cabling, I don't know that we'll ever be able to find common ground on this topic.
Well, if someone can tell me in the comments who David Gilmour is, what's Dark Side of the Moon, and why David's mother gave him an expletive for a middle name, please let me know. Because the only thing I listen to is organ music and classical music. So holding the guitar in his hands lets me know that this guy's probably a rock star of some kind. And we know rock stars can't hear anything. So not really clear. Please comment. Let me know who this David Gilmour guy is.
Not every cable is going to make a life-changing sound difference in every system you come across. But what about the measurements? If you can hear it, you can measure it. Indeed, you can. But as odd as it may be to consider, while you can measure everything you hear, measurements can't hear everything that you can. Let me try to use a simple analogy.
Simple analogies are good because anti-cablers are stupid.
My sister is a frickin' expert with wine. Her taste, her smell, her knowledge, and her experience are so vastly beyond mine that when I want a bottle, I simply ask her opinion and give her my trust.
Scientific Audiophile is very intrigued. Our entire rating system is based on wines, and Chris's sister likes wines. I think we like Chris's sister.
She has shown me again and again that she simply knows what the hell she's talking about. So when asking for a relatively affordable yet good wine, she was quick to recommend something from the Francis Ford Coppola line. Yeah, I had my doubts too, as celebrity booze is a pet peeve of mine, but this stuff is no joke.
Chris's sister is spot on with this because she knows her brother can't really taste good wines. So she's giving him a crappy wine like Coppola because she knows, just like with hearing, a lot of people can't hear the difference. Why give him an expensive wine when he can't taste all those subtle notes? Give him a crappy Coppola wine, and he's good to go. I'm going to have to ask Chris for his sister's number.
Well, at Christmas one year, we did a taste comparison. 2 identical types of wine from 2 different vineyards. The first I honestly don't remember, but the second was the Coppola. Guess where I'm going with this? While the wines both looked identical, were made with the same type of grapes, the same techniques, had the same coloring and alcohol content, they tasted completely different.
Chris is obviously a big fan of the Scientific Audiophile because this is exactly the analogy we did a year ago when we did the first run copper cables, and we explained the point about extra virgin olive oil and how they would be measured exactly the same, 100% pure olive oil, yet they have completely different tastes. So we think Chris actually looked back at our older video and used this wine analogy based on the olive oil analogy we used. But if it wasn't Chris, it might have been his sister.
That is to say, these two wines measured the same, and yet they would still taste different. Let's try a quick experiment. Listen to this test tone and then tell me about its spaciousness, height, depth, and soundstage. Are you ready?
Okay, that wasn't fair. I'm getting off my computer now and switching it to the high-end audio system of mine.
Here, I'll play it again.
Okay, listening on my high-end audio system, that sounds about 61 meters high. I'd say approximately 3 meters wide. Sounds like the microphone was about 100 foot back and had an 84 decibel level at that distance. My bet is that it's probably Rockfall Canyon Falls in Washington State. Let's see if I was right where that signal came from.
Not much to hear, is it? Guess what? This is the type of test tone used to determine frequency response.
You learn something new every day. I had no idea they use Rockfall Canyon Falls for frequency response measurements, but it makes sense. It's a federal site, therefore there's no royalties to pay.
The most expensive and accurate microphone in the entire world still can't hold a candle to the human ear. We truly are a fascinating organism. Because of this and the stereo nature of our listening, we are able to perceive sound as not only sound, but space. Not like outer space, but dimension. Just by listening to something, we humans are fairly accurately able to tell how far away it is. When quality speakers and amps produce excellent imaging, this is what we're hearing. Measurements just aren't able to replicate that no matter how much we would like them to.
Chris and I see so eye to eye in all this. There is truth in here. Microphones cannot hear space, cannot hear distance.
So, cables matter then? As I've said, it depends. But more importantly than my trying to show you how they do in some instances is your ability to try to keep an open mind. I can say without question that I never thought a firewire cable and some cable risers could affect the sound in a 2-channel system, but they did. The rub is your mileage may vary. As a matter of fact, my mileage may vary too. I clearly have one of Danny's heavy-duty power cables here to test out.
Unfortunately, that power cable is not going to do anything. Now, a braided power cable, oh, that really lifts the highs and really extends your lows. You want to get a braided power cable. AudioQuest makes an excellent one for about $5,000 a meter.
And quite frankly, I have no idea if I'll hear a difference in my system or not.
You won't, they're not braided.
Risers, as I've ordered myself some Tinker Toys. Hey, there's no sense in spending more than you need to when it comes to testing, right? But again, that's the key. Testing, experimenting. Measure what you can, but try out everything else as well to really get the full picture.
And remember, when you're making these changes, do it with your eyes wide open, because it's a lot easier to hear the change if you actually see the change you made. That's what being a scientific audiophile is all about.
This hobby has enough elitists and naysayers, and it's hard enough to find people around town who enjoy the hobby like we do. In the meantime, I'm going to try some different things to see what I get, and I'm also going to book a return trip to Texas at some point. Between the hi-fi stuff, the barbecue, the red tacos, and the fantastic ribeye that I got at Sweetie.
Okay, I am an elitist. And light beer? Oh, Miller Lite is crap. You could have had a beautiful Dogfish IPA with that ribeye. Now that would have been something to return to Texas for.
I just hope at some point, whether it's on the internet or at a hi-fi show, we can all learn to be just a little more patient and polite with one another.
Well, that's all from Vinyl Attack, and Chris at Vinyl Attack is awesome. Scientific Audiophile loves him. We subscribe to him. We recommend you go to their channel. I'll put a link in the description. You subscribe to Vinyl Attack. Remember, when playing with cable risers, 285 millimeters is the height you really want. And don't use standard, even expensive power cables unless they're braided. Braided ones make the biggest difference. Thank you so much for watching Scientific Audiophile. Please subscribe, like, and we'll see you for our next video.